Absolutely. So today, I'm doing things slightly different. I'm going to address some YouTube comments on previous videos. I've been getting a lot of heat for the videos, and I've been dealing with them in the comments. From August to October, there's a 10% interest rate. My client purchasing a bungalow for $721,000, which happens to be the average, slightly lower than the average selling price in August. And now he hasn't done a single thing to the property, and I can go ahead and sell his property today for $850,000, no questions asked. The data suggests that even if you bought a property at any time at any time this year, you would have done well by the end of the year, and you perhaps could have tapped into a home equity line of credit or even a refinance without doing even any work to the property.
We are live. Welcome everybody. My name is Kory MacKinnon. I'm a real estate investor, speaker, and coach. And today we're joined by Saman out of the Oshawa area. Really looking forward to hearing some updates here, Saman. I've watched your last couple of videos, and I'm taking over the channel for Matt McKeever here this month. So welcome to today's update.
Yeah, thank you, Kory. Thanks for having me, and nice to be back again. And I'm happy to meet you. And I would like to meet you in person and shake your hand, but we're stuck to doing it over video, which is totally fine.
Totally, man. Totally. No, you got me interested looking more at Oshawa as one of the more affordable places in the GTA. And I just love that you're looking out for your clients. Like, you're very numbers based. You have their best interests. You're going in there, you're fighting for them, but hey, do we get every single deal? No, we don't. And the ones that we don't get are probably the ones that are worth not doing anyway. So
yeah, absolutely. You know what, Kory, I would say that 90% of my clients are, and for those who don't know me, I am a full-time realtor, have an accounting and finance background. So I find that I naturally attract people who are driven by the numbers. And I would say that, to the point I was going to make, 90% of my clients are well aware of Ontario and the different markets where they can buy. They are aware that they can go to London, they can go to Windsor, they can go to Sarnia to get better cash flow numbers, right? It's not a hidden secret. It's not like we're avoiding these conversations. We're having these conversations. I would say the reason why people are coming to Oshawa and wanting to be in the Durham region is because they're viewing Oshawa as a secondary market, which means naturally they're going to get slightly better purchase prices. I'm finding that my clients want to remain hands-on so they can learn. Most of these people have a full-time job, are working, have good jobs. I have clients who are working for Acon, the accounting firms, engineering firms. They're very smart people, but they want to learn. So as a result, they want to be close to their property. They want to be able to go see it and so on, right? So
proximity, in the beginning, proximity to your properties is so important. I coach students all across Canada, and some of them want to go invest virtually. I'm like, you're going to have to be spending a lot more money and having a lot more trust in your power team, or be prepared to jump on a plane sometimes. Like, be close to your properties. So it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes they're running over there for everything when they shouldn't be, as far as delegating. But I think in the beginning, that's a great call. These people that are strong income earners, and they just want to get their money into the market and start earning a return.
That's right. And look, I find that a lot of my clients they're very risk-based, right? So they want to know absolutely every single risk, whether it's financial, whether it's non-financial, and what they're facing. I find that oftentimes my job is made harder by the fact that they do want to be close to the project. They do want to come and see it, picking out every single thing that shows up. Whereas people who do it virtually perhaps don't have that big of an emotional attachment, and it's strictly numbers. But it comes with the territory, and I'm fine with it. Essentially, the point I was going to make, and the whole reason why I got into this was, you were saying you're interested in getting to know the Oshawa market, and I find a lot of people are, but a lot of people sometimes get discouraged, especially with today's numbers. But I just wanted to make the point that in comparison to the rest of the GTA, Oshawa and the Durham region is in fact still cheaper and more affordable compared to the surrounding areas of Scarborough, of Newmarket, of Aurora, of the Lakeshore East, the Burlington area. So we do still attract a lot of people. It's just a different mindset of the buyers and their level of involvement in the game.
Yeah, and they can still be in the GTA. I mean, I think the numbers are pretty comparable. I was watching all sorts of these updates as I got to get ready for all the different hosts and updates and whatnot. It's like, I think if you want to be close to the downtown, downtown core, like just jump on the transit and, you don't have to be an hour away or an hour and a half away in Kitchener-Waterloo, whatever. You can still be right in the area.
Yeah, and I mean, I spent some time, commuting for my work when I was working in the accounting world, and I lived in Whitby, which is a town right next to Oshawa, and my door-to-door commute was around 55 minutes. So it was 40 minutes on the GO train, and then it was around 10 minutes to go into the office. So in comparison, like you're sitting on the DVP alone for an hour, and then you still got the commute to get there. So it's not far, and in fact, I would say a lot of people in the Durham region are working downtown or were working downtown and were commuting. And I think that's what's so attractive is you're along the 401 corridor, you have the infrastructure in terms of the land, you have the Highway 401, you have the 407 up north, you have 400 series highways that take you from the 401 to the 407. There's constant GO train expansion. So, from Pickering, which is like the most Pickering, of course, borders Scarborough, and from Pickering to get to downtown is only a 20-minute GO train ride. So it really is not far. Oftentimes when I speak to people from the West End, they think that nothing exists past Scarborough, but there's like a whole nother world on this side. So
Yes,
I find that we're attracting a lot of people and a lot of investors.
Yes, and for people that are watching this, make sure you guys watch through the whole video because there's always awesome stories here from Saman. Talks about deals, just talks about where, his predictions of where the market's going to be going. And if this is one of the more affordable places in Oshawa, make sure you don't flip the channel. Like you really got to stay glued to these things so that you can be the market expert and that you're getting the right intel to make the right decisions. If you want to be an investor in the GTA and if Oshawa is one of the areas, you need to be paying close attention. So looking forward to seeing the update.
Yeah, absolutely. We can jump into the presentation. I mean, with the presentation and with my presentations, I'm not getting too crazy and too caught up in the details. I like to look at the numbers based on Korea and what Korea puts out. But at the end of the day, every deal is different, and not every deal is going to match and mirror the average MLS prices, right? So things are different, things change, but we'll go over the numbers and we will, have a discussion throughout the presentation. If anything sticks out to you, Kory, and you want to chat about it, just, let's talk about it freely.
Yeah, I'm a numbers guy too, man. Let's dig in.
Yeah, absolutely. So today I'm doing things slightly different. I'm going to address some YouTube comments on previous videos. I've been getting a lot of heat for the videos and I've been dealing with them in the comments. So we're just going to look at some of these comments and then we're going to take those comments and see how those comments really compare to the actual data. And then we're going to look at the Oshawa market. We'll quickly touch base on the Durham market. I'm going to show people some rental data, actual rental data on my own properties that I've recently leased out. So these are actual numbers that you can expect to see. And then we're going to go into some common trends. So, the last month and a half, 2 months has been crazy in Oshawa, similar to other areas. So I'm getting a lot of phone calls from people and I'm getting the same questions. And these aren't even my clients. These are people who are purchasing and are facing some issues and are calling me afterwards for some help. So we'll go through that after as well. So this is the first video. So we published this video in August 26th of 2021, and it was essentially for data up from January until July. Okay, we did very well on this video, got some good views, but then I started getting destroyed in the comment section. 800K for a duplex. People are losing their mind. And then someone goes, the realtor wants us to buy now, ... the realtors. LOL. So in this video, I was saying, if you're looking to get into the market, you need to get into the market now, buy now, buy now. And essentially people were saying, well, of course the realtor is going to say this because he has an incentive here, right? So then luckily, someone that has worked with me in the past, I don't even know who this person is, but comes to my rescue and says, I work with someone and his team, and I know for a fact that he's actively investing in the market. I had these same conversations with him when prices were $400,000, and I should have made the purchase back then. So fast forward, we make another video with Peter. We do a walkthrough of a bungalow that my client purchased in September. This was a bungalow that was listed for $599. There was 25 offers on it, and we won it at $721,000. Okay. Of course, I got destroyed in the comments again. No, you overpaid for the project by $130,000. Hopefully your numbers will add up. Wow, 720 for a shit box. What a world. And then another dude goes, this shit box was listed for 500K, 25 people bid on it. You overpaid by 220K. What a world. Okay, cool story.
Well, it definitely goes to show, like, hey, there's a lot of free seats out there. People can say whatever they want, and I challenge people to make sure that you're educated, and what you post as a comment is a direct relation to your intelligence when it comes to being an investor. So a lot of non-investors out there, and take the time to educate yourself. There's, I want to say thousands of videos, or at least close to 1,000 videos on this channel. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Just because the stock market's getting really expensive too, does that mean you don't buy Amazon? Or if Bitcoin's getting expensive, does that mean you don't buy Bitcoin? Keeping in mind that Saman has really coached his clients that, like, hey, there's a plan B and there's a plan C, and we don't just buy this for, like, there's only one thing we can do here. Like, it is, when you're a smart real estate investor, you always have that dynamic ability to pivot and, do different things with the property. Worst case, you just hold it for a little bit, you pay it down, and time does heal everything. So I love real estate. I'll hold on to an asset. It's better than having your money sitting in the bank. That's 100%, whoever that propaganda person was. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And with every single project that we buy, we have three plans. We have the as-is plan of the property. We have what our highest and best use of the property is. And we have the, oh no, what if everything goes down south plan. And all these properties have an exit plan. And I'd be happy to say I've been doing this full time. So I quit my accounting job and went into real estate full time 2 years ago. And never once have I had a client lose out on something or come out negative, because all the plans we've had, I'd say 100% of them have worked in the let's find the highest and best use and let's implement it, right? Because this all goes down to where I'm doing due diligence with my clients. I'm making sure they have cash to get this done. I'm making sure they can hold it for 6 to 8 months. And we're making sure that all the contingencies and all the backup plans are in fact realistic backup plans, right? So it's possible. I would say there's a lot of noise right now. Everyone is talking about real estate. So there's a lot of, noise out there, but you need to stay focused and know what your goals are and how you need to get there, and have, step-by-step processes. And luckily we do.
Big time. Love it, man. And even though, just because you've only been in it for 2 years doesn't mean that you have just as much or more experience than someone who's been doing this for 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, right? So you're all in. I love it.
Exactly. So essentially, last year in October, it was a really tough market, right? So there was really no news about what's happening with COVID. Vaccines were out there. People were talking about it, but we didn't know what was going on with it. We didn't really know if people were going to be going back to work or not. And, the market, even with all those uncertainties, was still at a high, right? Oshawa average prices were 625, which was pretty high at that point in time. So I know for a fact I had clients back then who made some purchases, and I know those purchases are up 36%. These average prices right now in Oshawa is hovering around $820,000. Now, if we look at from year to date, I've started in February and going to October. February to August, we were kind of hovering around the mid to high sevens. And then all of a sudden, there was a pop in the market in September where prices went up above $800,000 and slowly climbing. I think some of this has to do with seasonality. So In some of the previous videos, I spoke about when the lockdowns were, and essentially the months following the lockdown, there's a pop in the market and the market increased. When the last time we spoke with Matt, August was a weird month where there was low inventory and there's low sales. And that's mainly due to the fact that there was a bit of freedom. There's a bit of freedom before going back to school. People
Big
were
time.
traveling, but then, hey, look, all of a sudden we're back. Everyone's back to work. Kids are in school now. Adults have more time to kind of figure out what they're doing. And in fact, there's more activity in September, and prices popped up. October, what happened in October? Recently, there was news that interest rates were going to hike. I know for a fact that I have clients with pre-approvals in their hand with a very low interest rate, and they're saying, we're expecting interest rates to go up at some point in 2022. We want to do everything we can now to fulfill this pre-approval and get a property right away. And
it's inevitable. I mean, this is pretty much free money, and it's going to start going up. How many rate hikes are they going to do? When's it going to start? All I know is that they're going to be going up, right? Probably 4 to 8 rate hikes over a period of time. And, people can get in now, they'll still, even if prices soften and everything else, but they're locked in at a really low fixed rate or something of that nature. I prefer variable, but, people aren't always looking at the total cost of a house, right? People could be buying a property in Oshawa years ago at 500,000, but what if your interest rate was 4 or 5%, right? Or maybe you didn't have the best credit and it was even more than that. When you look at the total purchase price over the entire, owning period, if that was 20 years or 25 years, or maybe you never paid off. I mean, some people just keep refinancing, remortgaging it, even though they're not a real estate investor. It's their primary residence, and they'll go to their grave broke because they never actually figured out the numbers and how to be smart with things. So, some things here are relative, and something at 850 when you can get an interest rate of like 1.5%, what is that going to equal if the rates go up to 2.5 or 3.5, right? It's
Yeah, and Kory, I'd be curious to get your take on this, right? So we know that there was announcements made about the interest rate hikes, okay? My theory is, why make the announcement when every single person who's purchasing a property today gets qualified at a higher interest rate, which means in the event that interest rates did spike 25 basis points, technically the people who have purchased today should be able to afford it because they've already qualified at nearly double the rate, okay? We know that when an announcement is made, people make, there's emotions involved and people start making decisions. So why does the Bank of Canada or any regulatory body involved need to give people a 6-month heads up that there's going to be an interest rate hike, which as a result turns out that people take that news and say, oh my God, this is my opportunity to go crazy and start buying. So in your opinion, do you think these announcements need to be made? There's so many regulations in place to make sure that people qualify at a higher rate?
It is interesting, right? I mean, I'm not an expert in the field, but I am connected enough to hear some of the interesting things that are going on out there. Like, was it a week or two ago? Was it TD Bank, or maybe all the banks are jumping on board now, but fixed rate went up by like 30 basis points in 1 week. So it's almost like maybe they're in bed with each other, and the government's helping the banks, have a strong, last quarter or a first quarter for next year. Who knows, right? Maybe they're just trying to continue to keep our economy going on life support until we can, open up. And but I do agree that does sound odd. Like, why would they start making these announcements so far out? Maybe they're trying to condition us, right? So that, when the rates do start, they're tightening the screws, just jacking the rates. I guess we should thank the government for giving us 6 months notice that they're just going to go raise interest rate. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we can argue that every time the government's tried to get involved with the housing market, it hasn't really helped, and it's actually done the opposite. So, it seems that the lessons learned are not being considered and put into or being considered going forward. But I'm not sure. Like, as an investor like yourself, I'm not mad. To be honest, I'm not mad. Prices are going up. Our properties are appreciating in value. We know that there are deals to get out there if you look in the right places and if you have the right network in place. It's just the end consumer that's trying to buy. The first-time home buyers, 50% of the market is almost first-time home buyers, people who are trying to get in. It's those people who essentially suffer. So I don't know. I feel like the message that we're getting from the Bank of Canada and the people in charge is perhaps not well thought out.
Very, very true. I love your perspective here as well.
Yeah, and you know, I have this up because from August to October there's a 10% interest, right? And the reason why I have this here a 10% increase in price. The reason why I have this here is because I think it's a nice circle back to some of the comments that people were making regarding my client purchasing a bungalow for $721,000, which happens to be the average, you know, slightly lower than the average selling price in August. And now he hasn't done a single thing to the property, and I can go ahead and sell his property today for $850,000, no questions asked. So, you know, I don't want to be the guy, or I don't want to keep on getting comments that, you know, he's a realtor and his narrative is different, but the data suggests that even if you bought a property at any time of, you know, at any time this year, you would have done well by the end of the year, and you perhaps could have tapped into a home equity line of credit or even a refinance without doing even any work to the property.
Exactly. I think it's important, you know, these are big purchases, and these are probably some of the biggest assets that people ever buy in their lifetime. And, you know, you have to be prepared to weather the storm. You have to be prepared to hold it longer if things don't go that well. But if you're buying real estate as like speculative, and, you know, you're trying to just time the market, you know, that's dangerous for sure. However, if you're actually buying it like a true asset, and, you know, you get some of those happy surprises. I was just on a call with Kayla. If you get that happy surprise where things are going in your favor, that's awesome. But don't get into real estate for speculation.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, if we look at this next chart, if we look at September new listings, we have 381 new listings, and the number of sales in September were 293 units sold in Oshawa. And if we fast forward a month later, our new listings have dropped and our sales have increased, which tells me that, you know, people are out there, people are shopping, now we get that that next round of people who are likely making purchases to purchase and settle before Christmas. So now we have a bit of that rush as well, where we expect November to slow down a bit. But nevertheless, you know, I have this chart here because if we look at months of inventory, it's consistently been low and the narrative remains the same. You can go and have this conversation with anyone from Vancouver to essentially Toronto and even further east, and they'll tell you the same thing. Months of inventory are low, and as a result, it's driving the average prices up. And if we look at some of the days on market, like even our days on market, the last line in this chart is still pretty low. And I would argue that these numbers are probably higher because I do performance days on market, and that's because it accounts for listings which may have been priced incorrectly that agents cancel and bring back on the market. So there are certain properties in here that have been relisted twice or three times because the marketing strategy or the pricing strategy was high. So I would say in reality, this number is probably in half. In October, a well-priced house that's turnkey is probably selling in 7 days or so. And if we look at the rest of the Durham region, so we have a little map of the Durham region here. And if we look at average prices, you're going to notice that the cheapest area is Brock, which is $794,000, which I'd be the first one to say that Brock is very far from a lot of our infrastructure, so the highway and the GO train. So I would say that, yes, that is a crazy number. But if we look at the rest of the Durham region, Oshawa remains at $850,000, which is the cheapest comparable to other areas in the Durham region. And I would say that it's in fact, you know, probably amongst the top 3 cheapest areas within the whole GTA. I'd say there's maybe 1 or 2 spots in the western part of the city, but besides that, we're still pretty competitive. You look at some of the surrounding areas like Whitby, over $1 million, Uxbridge, you know, an area where there's a lot of big homes with big lots with a lot of square footage, 1.4. Pickering is expensive. Ajax has now broke 1 million. And I say, you know, it's not unbelievable to assume that eventually within next year we'll be hovering around $1 million. And I've always said that the ripple effect from Scarborough carries on to Oshawa. And I would say right now, Scarborough detached bungalows are around $950. So I think we're definitely heading in that direction.
Hey, question for me. Maybe you can help educate me on something here there,
Yeah.
Saman. Like, I've obviously been to Whitby, Oshawa many times, usually just driving through. But
Mhm.
I do see some value opportunities here. Like, even though Brock is further away from all the infrastructure, can you tell us a little bit about Lake Simcoe? Like, is that a place where, is there some waterfront there? Is that a place where people might like to visit? Could that be maybe even like a short-term rental opportunity if you get the right property there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Lake Simcoe is great, but I would say in the Durham region, if you actually look along the Scugog area, so the water beds that you see in the Scugog area, Lake Kawarthas, the Kawarthas. I'd say there's a lot of opportunities in
More
that
desirable.
area where, in order to get to the Lake Scugog area, you're around an hour 20 from Whitby, and I would say you're probably 2 hours from Toronto. So you're attracting a lot of people who want to go to the cottage, who want that waterfront property to rent in the summertime for a week. So I know, a lot of people, some friends have cottages up there, and your weekly rental rates are around $4,000 or $5,000 a month. It's pretty impressive. And Lake Simcoe, yes, I would say
Per
Lake
month
Simcoe
or per
is
week?
per week.
Yes, per week.
Yeah, per week. Yeah, yeah. So I would say yes, the narrative is strong. I would say there is high demand for short-term rental opportunities. I'd say Lake Simcoe is definitely the same. I know a lot of people head towards Lake Simcoe for ice fishing in the winter time and even just cottage time in the winter. And same thing with Lake Scugog. So yes, to answer your question, there's definitely opportunities in those areas as well. And I know that Matt's team does a great team of finding off-market properties for cottages, and I've studied some of the deals, yeah, there's definitely opportunities. So next, I wanted to get into some actual rental data. So this is a property that this is one of my properties that we've recently finished and leased out. So this is a
Wow,
picture
looks
of an
great,
upper
man.
unit,
This looks
and
sharp.
yeah, this is our living room. So this was a house that we purchased, did a complete renovation on it. It's a typical bungalow with 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bedrooms downstairs. This is our lower unit, kitchen, and lower unit living room. I've spoke about this deal in previous videos, but we finally leased it out. We have signed leases. We have first and last month's rent, and these are the numbers. So for our upper unit, a 3-bedroom upper unit, newly renovated, we're getting $2,150 a month plus utilities and hydro. And for our lower unit, we're getting $1,800 a month. So we're just under $4,000 a month. And that's going to be plus utilities and hydro. So very little expenses on our part. We attracted a really cool tenant profile here. To upstairs, we have a young couple just moving out of mom and dad's house. Both have really good jobs, looking to essentially move into a place where they can save for a few years and buy a new house. And the basement, we have a young professional who's recently sold their house to capitalize on the market and looking to rent for a year or two before they jump back into the market. So we're really pleased with this. I want to show people that, if you buy a property, even if you buy a property at the mid to high sevens, put in $100,000 and refinance around the 9,950, with these numbers, your property will still be cash flowing positive with contingencies in there. So we typically build in a maintenance contingency, a vacancy contingency, and a property management contingency. Although we manage this on our own, we want to show people that it's still possible to make this as passive as possible.
It's always a great feeling when you get to turn on the cash flow tap. That is great. Did
That's
you
right.
did you go for a refi? Like, how was your refi numbers if
Yes.
you went for a refi?
Yeah. We're currently in the process. So what I've done is I have gathered all the comparables in the area that would work in our favor. We've put a package together. It's currently with the bank. It hasn't come in yet, but we're projecting a refinance around between 920 and 950 for this property.
Love it. I was going to say, I know someone that can get you some great comps, and he's on the screen right now. Were you tell the audience what it was like when you listed these for rent? Like, I mean, you've got great photos, you've done a great renovation. Was this just like the inbox blew up and you really had your pick of the crop? It sounds like you have a great tenant profile. You probably got this wrapped up pretty quickly, but maybe just let people know, when you do things right and you actually follow a plan, much like when you're a realtor and you put a property on the realtor.ca, you want to make sure that you have that listing formula down pat. Same with when you're trying to rent an apartment. You can't just half-ass it. You got to make sure that you put your best foot forward. You really show the full benefits of the unit. And when you do that and you price it properly, sometimes I pump my Kijiji ads. I make them a featured ad, because to me, to spend a little bit of extra money and put it in front of way more eyeballs always helps. But maybe for people that are a little bit newer and they're just getting used to, renting a place for the first or second or third time, what was that experience like for you there, Saman?
Yeah. So in order to prep for this, we made sure that we had cleaners in to clean the property first, and we actually had to do it twice. Because the first time that they cleaned it, we noticed that they missed some certain spots. So we said, let's bring them in again and get them cleaned up. So now that the property's clean, we brought photographers to take pictures of the unit, because I find that, my phone camera doesn't do enough justice for the property, right? So as you can tell that these pictures are bright, they look sharp, it's going to attract people. I essentially want my first 3 pictures to grab someone's attention. And I think these pictures really do that. The kitchens are, the kitchen stands out. The appliances are clean, they're new, everything just looks appealing to the eye and pleasant to look at. So once we got it clean, once we got our pictures taken, we decided to post the ad on Facebook Marketplace. We decided to skip Kijiji and just work with Facebook Marketplace. We decided to skip Kijiji because I've noticed in the past that I get quite a bit of volume from Facebook Marketplace. And I'm sure that if I'm getting high volume and if I actually take the time and go through all the applicants, I'll be able to find someone properly. So stuck with Facebook Marketplace, put it up there. There are a number of groups, 1 or 2 major groups in the Durham region where a lot of investors and just normal people post properties for rent. So I posted it on Facebook Marketplace and this group that I'm aware of, which has 15,000 people who are looking for apartment buildings to rent. So got it on those 2 spots, and within a week, I think we had maybe 70 to 80 messages. Mind you, a lot of these messages are, is this available? Is this available? Is this available? But what I did was I had a Google Forms attached to the listing, and in the listing it said, please complete the Google Forms in order to consider. I essentially decided to ignore all the comments that said, is this available? Is this available? And I strictly just looked at my Google Forms at the responses, and I had around 18 responses that I work with. So I had 60, 70 messages, but out of those people, only 17, 18 of them filled out the Google Forms. So I decided to only work with the Google Forms people. And
that's important, right? Like, one of the main things you want as a landlord is, will people follow the instructions? Are they coachable? Can you read and do what you're supposed to do? We do the same sort of thing when we put an ad. We don't use a Google form, but we have like 3 questions at the bottom of the ad that just tell us a lot more about the applicant, and it saves everybody a lot of time. But so many people just take the easy route because it's a pre-filled out answer. Is it available? Is it available? Sometimes we reply and just say, yes, please answer the questions. But work with people that actually follow instructions. It'll save you a lot of time, sweat, and tears as a landlord.
Exactly. And I'm doing the same. When I can respond, I can respond. But we all have busy lives, and I want to give kudos to the people who did actually read the full listing and answer the question. I'm definitely giving those people more time than the people who just say, is this available?
Yes.
So went through the Google Forms. I would say around 50% of the people reached out to me. And out of the 50%, I'd say around 50% actually brought in a really strong application. And we ended up finding both the tenants on our own and within a fairly reasonable time.
That's great, man. And as people renting a unit, we don't need to dwell on this. I just thought it was a great teachable opportunity. So many people, when they're renting their units, they don't have enough of a funnel, and then they feel like they're desperate. They just got to make a decision. They don't want that place staying empty. But just make the net as big as you can. Cast a big net. And again, by doing your prep work properly, make sure it's clean, great photos, get it on the right platforms so that you won't struggle to find that great tenant.
Yeah, and I would say timing is also key. I've had situations where I've posted for a week and it's been horrible and I'm panicking. And sure enough, take it down for a few days, put it back up, and that funnel starts going again. it could also be a timing thing. It could also be that, some people are just, you may have posted it at the wrong time of the day and people are just it's not hitting the right eyeball. So I think if you're not having luck, just definitely try taking it down and reposting it. Again, this is nothing new, just a nice reminder for people if they're struggling.
Cool.
I have one more. This is another property of ours that we finished and have leases signed. So I wanted to show people the numbers. This is again, same type of bungalow, but more square footage. Nice spacious living room, kitchen. The basement is also done as well. There's a picture of the kitchen, picture of the living room, a lot of room here. This property is in a slightly better location. So our numbers are slightly better. Our upper unit was $2,300 a month and our lower unit was $1,950. And our total rent, just over $4,000, and our utilities and hydro are in addition. We're also in the process of doing a refinance on this one, and our refinance goal on this one is slightly higher. We're looking to hit around $1 million on this one.
Great to see. And, for all those haters out there, Saman is actually in the trenches doing this stuff himself, right? And do your own math. This property will, absolute worst case scenario, float itself. And, if I always tell people that could actually be your worst case scenario. I mean, don't get into this for crazy appreciation. The cash flow is really just to supplement some of your capital improvements over time and some of your maintenance. Don't buy properties that don't at least float themselves.
Hey, Kory, I would argue that a lot of the investors who are buying pre-construction projects are in fact putting in a couple $100s a month out of pocket.
Yeah.
So
they're paying the meter, man. They're bleeding, and their brain will make it think like they're not because they have a day job and they're making decent money, so they don't notice it. But if you were full time and you had to literally live off your rentals, you're going to notice that.
Yeah. So I hope this gives people some clarity on the rental, because we've spoke about how much people can expect to spend on a property, what the refinances will be, and what rental incomes would be. And of course, I'm happy to have these conversations with anyone. I know that we have my links below and all my socials below. So if anyone has specific questions, I'm definitely open. I jump on a lot of phone calls with people who watch our videos. So if you have certain questions or something that we haven't touched on, definitely feel free to get in contact with me.
Big time. And Matt in the previous video made a great point. Build these relationships. This is, even just getting to know another person, building your power team. These are all investments that, you want to make ahead of time. So when you actually have to go and, make a withdrawal from the bank account, it's okay because you already put a bunch of deposits in the bank account and you've showed that you're a serious investor, you're ready to go, you're pre-qualified, whatever it might be. But don't wait to the last minute for this stuff. It is no way to try to do business.
Yeah. Absolutely. So last things, common trends that I'm getting. And, it's funny because a lot of these conversations I'm having are regarding properties that I see on MLS that, that we bid on with clients, and some we win, some we don't win. So a lot of the common trends and the common questions I'm getting is, I bought a house with a friend of mine who's an agent. They didn't tell me it was not legal. I bought a house. Can you tell us how to legalize it? I bought a house. Can you send us your contacts? We need contractors. I bought a house. Not sure what to do with it. Use it as is or legalize it. I find a lot of these problems come up because people are, there's 80,000 agents in Ontario, and so someone is bound to know a family member or a friend who is an agent. But I would consider myself part of the top 5% of all realtors who's in it every day, who's doing this full time, who is in fact making material moves. So getting these questions is not hard to believe. It's just unfortunate because if you work with someone who's competent, someone who's an expert in their area, and someone who understands all this stuff, you would be well prepared before making a purchase, right? For me, there's no reason why someone should be calling me and telling me that I bought a house and the agent didn't tell me it was not legal. That is just, in my opinion, criminal. So
and
to
just
everyone
to clarify
out there,
to clarify for the audience, if they don't understand what legal is, it's, if you actually have a duplex, it needs to be recognized by the city as a duplex. You got to have the right zoning, you got to have the right ceiling height. So it's important to know what you're buying. Even as an experienced investor, I always double check, triple check. It's just a good habit to have in life. I always go and double check and verify. So important, because again, you're moving product. You're one of the top 5%. However, you're not a surgeon in the in triage in the emergency room when something has already been done, right? So there's only so much we can do. Like you said, it is unfortunate. Oh, wow. Or people that are just askaholics and they're like, oh, can I just have all your contacts? Like, I don't even know who you are. I get random reach outs too. Like, they know that I'm in the Sarnia market. Oh, who's your realtor? Who's your GC? Who's your contractor? I'm like, how about we just get to know each other? And some contacts I hold close to my heart because I use them a lot. And some of these contacts, they can't scale. It's different than maybe an accountant or somebody who has a team and it's really just transactional and they can pump through things a little bit quicker. That's different. Or mortgage broker, they're meant to do volume, right? But somebody who does only 15 or 20 projects a year, they can only do 15 or 20 projects a year. So
essentially the message here is, I understand you may have an uncle or a friend who's an agent, but this is a big purchase and it's supposed to be a purchase that goes smooth throughout the whole transaction. And I would highly recommend working with a professional in an area that you're interested in investing. And if that so happens to be Oshawa, I'm more than happy to help.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And again, my socials are below. If anyone has any questions, definitely feel free to get in contact with me.
Well, thanks for your time here today, Saman. Like any predictions for December or coming into the new year? Do you think the market's going to take a little bit of a break? Like, are people going to maybe enjoy the cold weather? Maybe some of them can actually travel and get out of the country, go somewhere warm. I think it's a great opportunity for real estate investors to be looking for deals and staying in touch with someone like you, as there's maybe things that are sitting on the market for longer days and maybe it was mispriced. Like, there's always these opportunities. People think there's no opportunities out there. There are. You just need to work harder for them and make sure you have right people in your corner, whether it's a great agent or maybe you have to go get some other kind of coaching or other people on your board of directors. But any predictions and any maybe encouragement for investors that are full-time, they never take their foot off the gas?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that I'm expecting the November market to be similar to October. I'd say, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we break the 900K mark. I know for a fact that there's been 2 duplexes sold in Oshawa over $1 million, both for the same price, $1.5 million. So I would expect that to bump our average price up a little bit. November is a fairly consistent month. I'd expect December to cool down a bit. And I'd say December is a very good time to try and find some of these deals that you were talking about, properties sitting still on the market for longer than expected, less people competing. I would definitely say if you're active and if you're looking, I know this is when people oftentimes take their foot off the pedal, but I would say consistency is key, and going until the last day of the year is definitely what I encourage. I know we're out there, we're consistently looking, and we're trying to find properties that have offer dates around Christmas time, just before, just after. So keep going at it, and reach out to us if you need a hand with any properties.
Totally, man. I've been out, looking at properties on the coldest day of the year, literally days that they've shut down certain highways, big snowstorms, because true investors don't stop looking for deals. Thanks so much for the insights today, Saman. It was great getting to know you a little bit. Looking forward to staying in touch more in the future. Again, you seem to be pretty easy to find. What are the best ways that people can reach you? I know there's probably going to be some contacts below, but are you pretty active on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the easiest way to get in contact with me is through Instagram at Saman Habibi _real estate. That's my Instagram that I use on a daily, post projects, properties that I'm working on. And then subsequently, if you want to get in contact with me, I know I leave my cell phone information below. If you want to give me a call, send me a text, feel free to do that, 905-449-4242.
Love it. And likewise, I'm pretty easy to reach, folks. If people like the banter today, you want to learn more about real estate investing, you can go check me out on Instagram. You can go check out my website, KoryMacKinnon.com. Really blessed for the opportunity to help out with the channel here. And until next time, friends, make sure that you don't take the foot off the gas when it comes to real estate investing, and keep up with the latest data research on the cities that you're investing in. Be amazing.
Thanks, Kory.